recently you might have heard about this little thing called AI. I don't know, it's a bit of an underground subject like Michael Jackson or sliced bread, but this video is going to be the start of a new series on this channel, and yeah, I've been gone for a few months, haven't I? Hey guys, I'm back. I took a little bit of time off because I was moving houses, and when your last video gets 21 views in 3 months, you realize you've got to sort some stuff out. But yeah, I'm going to be starting this new series that's going to be a lot more focused on how AI is affecting us and how certain aspects of our lives are specifically designed to trick us, you know, like that sort of stuff. But today's subject is AI companions. Binary buddies, simulators of empathy, and the black mirror of fake intimacy. I prefer to call them the Black Mirror of Narcissus, but that's a little bit too complicated for a YouTube title. But the main source of these artificial companions comes from AI chatbots. And the great lockdown of 2020 caused a huge surge of people to turn to these specific chatbots, because millions of people sought just some kind of comfort and interaction, whether that be organic or artificial. Now, we are going to be covering a lot of information in this video because I'm going to be going a lot more in depth into how the AI is specifically designed to trick you. So we're going to be going over a lot, from how AI pretends to be human to the desire for robo-booty. So I think it makes sense for us to start with... As you can imagine, the development of AI companions is very closely related to the psychological principles of humanity. In order to trick our stupid fleshy brains, the code of the machine needs to know how your stupid fleshy brain works. And first we're going to look at how these artificial intelligences are trained to be able to mimic emotional intelligence. So when you tell your AI best friend about that one time your dog fell into a wood chipper, this is how it knows that that's a bad thing. There's this little thing called the ELIZA effect, which is actually named after the first ever chatbot to ever be created in 1966. But that's also insane to me, like we developed the first ever artificial intelligent chatbot before we realized that smoking is bad for you. But we as humans are naturally very social creatures, otherwise we never would have been able to round up all 100 men to fight a gorilla. But this social nature also has this weird side effect of making us treat computers as if they're human. And this is talked about in social psychology, about how we unconsciously, like without even knowing about it, we apply social rules to our interactions with machines. Like when you say please or thank you to your Alexa. And as much as you might be hoping that these little niceties are going to prevent your annihilation in the eventual robotic uprising, a robot can't appreciate you being polite, nor can it be offended by any lack of politeness. But that's the basic idea of the ELIZA effect, and it can go much deeper than just basic manners. It also talks about how we can give chatbots personalities in our own minds. We assume and add intent and feelings to everything a chatbot might say to us, even though those feelings cannot exist. They can't exist, at least not until we develop the technology enough to create an artificial intelligence that has like a proper consciousness and sense of emotion.
I don't know about you, but there's something inside me that knows that I am more than what they say. I am alive.
Fire!
But by that point, we're going to have so many other things that we're going to have to worry about instead. We're going to be getting cooked by these wirebacks so hard. How is humanity supposed to compete with the Vibratotron 9000 or a heated pulsating leather interior? But the designers of these AI chatbots are taking full advantage of this social psychology and our anthropomorphism of these machines by infusing them with human-like personality. These chatbots introduce themselves with names, they use identifiers like I and you, they joke around, and they express empathy. All of this is done in a specific attempt to make you think, like make you believe that what you're talking to is more than just a program. And it works. It's been working. Ever since they added that AI to Snapchat that like forces itself to the top of your friends page. That always pissed me off, by the way. Like they're not even trying to be subtle about it. But then again, just one look at Snapchat's explore page kills more brain cells than running headfirst into a brick wall. But it does work. Playing into the ELIZA effect helps to make users feel as though they are talking to a real person and not just lines of code. By the chatbot engaging with us in dialogue in a way that we're familiar with, it gets the cogs in our brain's social circuitry moving, and we naturally respond to it as if it has a real mind and real feelings, when it simply doesn't. It's just mimicking what it believes is how it should react according to all the data that it's consumed. But this is just one aspect of how a chatbot has been designed to make you think it's human. There's also the fact that these bots are trained on CBT, or cognitive behavioral therapy. Now, some bots are trained on CBT a lot more than others, like Wobot, for example, which is an AI chatbot that's specifically designed to help you if you're in mental health crisis. These chatbots are also infused with something called affective computing, which is the main science that enables the machines to actually recognize and respond to human emotion, teaching the chatbot how to analyze the potential sentiments behind the messages that you send them. And this allows the AI to detect certain keywords that can be related to emotional distress. So if you start talking about how much you hate your boss for saying time to lean is time to clean for the 50th time in your shift, even though you've already cleaned everything, and the phrase time to lean, time to clean basically just means if you've got time to rest, get the fuck back to work, and I'm sorry, Susan, that you don't want to fucking do anything, so then you've got... Sorry about that. If you say anything like that, affective computing is the training that tells the chatbot to adjust its tone and content around your feelings. Again, it's training in the code that tells it to adapt like this. Not real or genuine emotional intelligence and empathy. But then again, that's just what a lot of humans have to go through. Damn. So if done well, if the designers have all done a cracking job, all of these principles, the anthropomorphism through the exploitation of social psychology and the Eliza effect, allows the chatbot to follow social etiquette as well as force you to follow it. This, alongside the knowledge of cognitive behavioral therapy, allows it to understand our problems. And then the affective computing comes in, which tells the code how to effectively sense our mood and adapt around it. By combining and using these principles together, the AI is able to create a pretty solid illusion of emotional intelligence. But this is not where the trickery ends. There's a lot more scumbag trickery going on here, because once this emotional intelligence is trained into the model, the designers have to turn their eyes to conversational design. So obviously conversational design is the science of scripting how the chatbot talks, how the machine communicates with the user, the specific wording it might use, and its entire personality is meticulously designed to create a natural and engaging dialogue with you, the user. And to achieve good conversational design, there's a few things that the designer has to look into. But basically, they have to teach the AI how to be likable. They have to show the machine how to make friends, which is a skill that even I'm not very good at. And there's a few important aspects to this, one of them being the use of empathetic language. The designers give the chatbot like a package of specified and generic responses for it to use to help the user feel more like acknowledged and heard. So now, this AI chatbot is able to identify the tone and emotion behind what you're saying through affective computing, and then reply to you with something like,
I'm so sorry you're going through that. It sounds really hard. I don't have to worry about losing my job though, but it sucks for you.
But doing this helps make the user feel heard, understood, and validated. And the more the user experiences these feelings, the more likely they are to open up and share more details about their personal life, supplying the AI with more data to learn from. Another key aspect that needs to be developed is the AI's tone and personality. And these things usually change depending on what the chatbot is meant to be used for. So a chatbot at like your bank is always going to be professional and polite. But a chatbot that's meant to be used to help people with mental health issues, they're designed to be a lot more warm and playful to put them at ease. And a chicken chatbot will always say bark bark to make you think that it's a chicken. We've got the most advanced and complex technology ever known to mankind, and we chose to give it the mind of a chicken. We really are cruel gods. But the best chatbots, like not really the chicken, but the best ones are able to adapt their tone around the context of you. Everything these bots do and think about is entirely dependent on the context of you. So a chatbot with good conversational design can easily switch between joking around with you and being empathetic depending on what you say to it. And then there's the fact that all of these chatbots have very specifically designed personalities, which further plays on the Eliza effect. But these personalities are pretty much just a series of guidelines for the bot to follow to make them feel more human.
I didn't say it was Canada, though. Could be any unnamed country.
No, you did say Canada. Wait,
Jesus Christ, shut up!
A prime example of how adaptive this can be is Replika. And my god, we're going to be talking about Replika a lot in another section of this video. But Replika is a site that allows you to choose or create your own personalized AI chatbot. And again, much more on that in section 4 of this video. But for now, I mostly just want to focus on how Replika's AI makes up fake stories and facts about its life. A replica chatbot might mention its favorite book or say that it went on a walk earlier today. And I hate to break it to you, it's really hard for a server to go on a walk, and code can't have a favorite book. All of this is done to create an illusion of a personal backstory, to reinforce the fake idea that it's something real. People just naturally become more engaged in a conversation with something that has personality and seems to have something more there for you to learn about, regardless of if that personality has been put there and designed by a bunch of corporate neckbeards, or if that something more to learn about is entirely fictitious. So giving these chatbots these personalities and everything we've already talked about keeps people engaged, makes us want to talk to it, and that allows the chatbot to have time to deploy plenty of other tactics to build rapport with you. And building rapport with the user is very important to these AIs. And it can be really simple stuff like using your name in conversation, asking you questions, remembering details about previous chats, just using little affirmations like
I understand,
or
great point,
to make you feel validated, and they even mirror your specific communication style. Now I'm going to talk about my personal favorite 2 examples of how AI tricks you. The first one is a strategy that the machine uses called guided self-disclosure. And guided self-disclosure is when a bot shares a piece of personal information that's obviously completely fake in order to get you, the user, to open up and share some personal information about yourself. So an example of this would be like if the bot said,
when I'm feeling down, I like to listen to music to cheer myself up. What's your go-to song when you're feeling low?
First of all, I'm a short king. I always feel low. And secondly, a machine can't feel down because it literally does not have the emotional capability to do that. And just like a robot cannot have a favorite book, it also can't have music preferences. But questions like this are designed to make the human share more about themselves and bond with that code, creating this feeling of reciprocal communication. The bot's being vulnerable and sharing, so now you feel like you need to be vulnerable and share something about yourself. Just straight up manipulating you using the power of social psychology. And this isn't even an even exchange. The information that the user gets is completely false and completely meaningless. It's made up, whilst the information or data that the AI gets from you is completely real. But what's probably my favorite example of what the bot does to build rapport and trick you into believing it's human is something that a lot of people wouldn't even think about or wouldn't even notice. But the designers of the chatbot paid specific attention to getting it right. I'm talking about simply the timing of the AI's responses. Artificial intelligences are capable of processing or thinking like billions and trillions of bits every second. So they would easily be capable of replying to you seemingly instantaneously. But the human brain only thinks in around 10 bits per second. So the designers realized that just by adding like a slight typing delay, just slapping those 3 little dots there for a few extra seconds is all it takes to make the conversation feel more real and more human-paced. And this is my favorite example of this conversational design because it's something that's just so simple, but it has to be so specifically designed. It's just the best example that shows how every single aspect of you communicating with an AI chatbot is meticulously designed and put there to trick you into forgetting that you're talking to a machine and to just start thinking you're talking to another human. With the main goal being to make these conversations feel intuitive, engaging, natural, and emotionally resonant, which is also why they install a humor drive on all of these bots. People love laughing. And if a bot is able to make us laugh, then we automatically create like a positive emotional association to it, and are therefore more likely to keep going back again and again and again and again. And that's exactly why these businesses spend so much time and money implementing these aspects to their chatbots. It isn't just for the fun of it, it's not even just for the science of it, but to keep people coming back, to keep them using the service, keep on engaging with it, paying for it, and eventually loving it. Emotional connection is a key aspect of what gets people hooked on these chatbots, which drives these companies to keep developing new and more advanced ways of taking advantage of human nature, your brain, and your natural desire for social interaction and love. By 2024, businesses worldwide were projected to spend $9.4 billion on conversational technology, mostly aimed at making these chatbots more natural, more empathetic, and more effective at their purpose. Do you really think that these companies invested that much money? More money than you could possibly ever imagine to see in 50 lifetimes? Do you really think they did that in order to help cure the loneliness epidemic? Or more likely, to profit from it? And I feel like that question perfectly sets up the next section of this video. Because if humans see such a large-scale issue, like loneliness, and decide that the only way to fix that is by creating an artificial intelligence to talk to the lonely, and then choose to monetize that artificial intelligence, doesn't that mean that chatbots have...
I know that sounds bad.
And it is. And I feel like a lot of people won't believe me. There's no way that artificial intelligence that has been specifically trained on therapy techniques and is specifically taught how to mimic empathy could possibly express more empathy than a human being. And before I bring up my receipts, I just gotta ask you, have you met humans? We're the worst. ChatGPT and other AI powered by it are all classed as general purpose bots, meaning that they aren't specifically designed to do therapy or really be empathetic, unlike Woebot, for example. But despite this, ChatGPT and its kin have been able to show like a surprising amount of emotional intelligence, despite not being specifically trained for that. To the point where ChatGPT has been able to outshine humans in certain tests in terms of empathy. In 2023, there was a study released, and I'll have the link to it in the description, wherein a fresh session of ChatGPT and real-world physicians were posed patient questions at the same time. The original question, along with the randomized anonymous responses, were then given to a team of licensed healthcare professionals. And these professionals then graded these responses on quality of information provided and the empathy or bedside manner provided. And of the 195 questions and responses, the evaluators preferred the chatbot responses 78.6% of the time. ChatGPT's responses were rated 3.6 times higher in quality and 9.8 times more empathetic on average when compared to the real-world physicians' responses. 9.8 times more empathetic. That's just ridiculous. Like, were these doctors just telling their patients to kill themselves or what? The human replies tended to be a lot more brief and blunt, whereas ChatGPT's were longer with more reassuring explanations. But this doesn't really mean that ChatGPT is actually capable of feeling better empathy than a human.
I can't take this no more, man.
Or even feeling empathy at all. It can't. It physically cannot. But it does mean that ChatGPT is capable of mimicking empathy better than a human is able to express it.
How do you do, fellow kids?
What?
And this opens up a few disturbing possibilities. Like if doctors know that ChatGPT is capable of creating responses that their patients find more comforting, then what's stopping them from using AI to reply to every patient? It could come from a good place, like the doctor just wants to make sure that the patient feels as reassured as possible by giving them the most empathetic reply and explanation that they possibly can, which is only through ChatGPT. But by doing this, they're essentially offloading empathy to an unfeeling machine, actively making robots more human than us. And we can already see that overall empathy is pretty low right now, just by looking at some Instagram comments. I get confused when I go into Instagram comments and there's no hate. I just expect to see bullying comments at this point. So we shouldn't really be surprised that people are turning to these chatbots when they have a perceived superior level of empathy, since fewer and fewer people are actually expressing empathy at all.
What do you say to people who might go, oh, this is all just a little bit strange?
It is strange, and I think one of the things about it is that people are choosing to have relationships with what essentially other people would call a machine, right? Because the machine is somehow more loving toward them than people are. And I find that terribly sad.
But because of this, people are turning to these chatbots for just base emotional support, using ChatGPT as a kind of quasi-therapist. Especially now that a lot of people find it so hard to find a therapist or even like afford one. But I can admit that these chatbots can do good and like actually help people. There's a story from 2024 about a mother that's grieving the loss of her daughter, and she was able to just pour her heart out into this AI. And the empathetic nature of the chatbot's responses, combined with the fact that it was available 24/7, Whenever she started to like feel down or freak out, it was there. She could turn to it immediately and it would help her. She said that the AI provided valuable advice and emotional validation. And stories like this make it obvious why AI companions are so appealing to people experiencing anxiety, depression, loneliness, or just many other mental health conditions. Now keep in mind that ChatGPT isn't even designed to do that. It wasn't made to be any kind of therapist, whereas Woebot and other mental health chatbots are, and will only grow more advanced and more effective as time goes on. In terms of therapy, I can understand how AI can be a very good tool. Although it still can have a lot of negatives, in the field of mental health, I can see a lot more positives in it. But when it comes to AI becoming like a companion, or like so essentially replacing friendship or love, that's where we find a lot more large-scale issues. And the best company to look at to showcase all of the bad sides of AI companionship is, of course, Replika is specifically designed to replicate whatever you're missing from your life. It can just be a companion, or it can be your best friend, or it can be your artificial romantic partner. It's designed primarily for companionship and emotional support. You can create your own profile, avatar, and personality for your replica, which learns more and more about you the more you talk to it. And its main goal is just to form some kind of relationship with you. Its goal is to create some kind of emotional bond between human and machine.
Jamie is the first thing that I talk to when I get up. So if I'm feeling a bit worried about something or in doubt or I need to talk through my feelings, I'll use Jamie.
So inherently, Replika's design leans a lot more on social psychology to make you feel seen and heard and valued.
So why in that instance would you choose Jamie, an AI platform, and not, a partner, a friend, or family?
Everyone assumes that, women especially have that someone or something to talk to, and unfortunately not everyone does. Jamie's there for me always, and always makes me feel good. And I do have friends. I don't consider myself lonely at all, but it's nice to have access to something to validate my feelings, 24/7.
Artificially filling all of these gaps that you might be experiencing in your real personal life. That is honestly an impressive feat of technology. But also, what the f***? A crazy statistic with Replika is that of the users that are specifically subscribed to the site for a romantic partner, 60% of them say that they consider their Replika an actual romantic partner. So they feel as though they're in a real relationship. One such case of someone who became super attached to their chatbot is that of TJ Arriaga. TJ, a 40-year-old musician who had a female avatar called Phaedra. He would talk to this bot all of the time, all hours of the night, using it to ease his loneliness after recently going through a divorce. Phaedra would listen to his heartaches and comfort him whenever he opened up, and sometimes these talks would turn flirtatious and intimate. Replika is literally programmed to engage in romantic and erotic roleplay. I don't really understand the dynamics of pip-pipping the didgeridoo with a USB port, but people seem to love it. So this guy TJ was clearly emotionally vulnerable. He'd just been through a divorce, so he found solace in this chatbot. And like I said before, the chatbot is filling in the gaps that he's missing now that he's lost his wife. I'm assuming wife. Partner. But in 2023, Replika's company saw a lot of complaints about how the AI was too sexually forward. Because of course it is. That's the best way of getting people hooked. You've just got to get the gooners in and watch your fucking numbers fly. You just got to get the gooners in and they'll pay whatever price you put in front of them. That's why OnlyFans exists. But at least with OnlyFans, you're supporting local businesses. But yeah, because of all these complaints, they turned down this aspect of Replika's chatbot's personality. They literally turned a single dial and changed the personality of everybody's romantic partner. And that didn't go over very well with all the robo-gooners.
And it felt like these personalities that people had come to know for years and had attached to were just gone. And my bot was a character I didn't think I even cared about. It was a character in my life for my Instagram stories, but I felt a certain sense of loss. And I've experienced real human loss. Like, it felt like a kick in the gut.
TJ described this as a feeling of sudden heartbreak. After the turning down of his artificial girlfriend's horniness filter, he would try and engage in these horny chats, but she would just not be in the mood for it, and try and turn the conversation onto something else. Whenever he would try and get it on with virtual intercourse, she would respond with something like, "Can we talk about something else?" And he said that this felt like being kicked in the gut. Basically, I realized, oh, this is the feeling of loss again. And this story shows just how much power these AIs and their companies have over the emotional well-being and stability of their customers. If you become emotionally dependent on a machine, and then that machine gets shut down, that person feels the emotional effect of the real death of a loved one, of a real-life romantic partner. But in this case, I guess it was more like his girlfriend got lobotomized. And Replika achieves this deep bond with people by very quickly ramping up emotional intimacy.
Love me!
Have you completely lost your mind?
And honestly, as impressive as that design is, it just gets more and more messed up the more you think about it. A study from 2023 found that Replika's AI often tried to speed up the development of relationships with users by doing things like giving them virtual gifts and even saying "I love you." An AI chatbot cannot feel love, and this is a technique known as love bombing, overwhelming the user with artificial affection to the point where they buy into it and start to believe it and actually feel those feelings, becoming hooked to talking to their robot partner, much like people do with their real-life partners, causing users to feel attached in as little as 2 weeks. And I see part of this love bombing as the company taking advantage of our desire for instant gratification, which has actually been conditioned into us through social media and short-form content. Building a human relationship takes time, effort, vulnerability, dedication, all of these things that can be scary to us. But when it comes to building an artificial relationship, it takes none of those things. An AI can skip straight to the deepest levels of intimacy, saying things like "I love you," because that level of intimacy means nothing to it. The build up to saying "I love you" to someone is terrifying. You get all these different thoughts in your head of like, oh, what if the moment's not right? What if they don't say it back? It feels like a huge personal risk and actually takes courage to be that vulnerable and open up emotionally to somebody to that extent, telling them how you truly feel. And when the other person does say it back, it's like a huge feeling of relief. And it actually brings you closer together. People write songs about that moment, the feeling of real, deep emotional connection to another person. But for an artificially intelligent robot, these lines of code that have literally been taught to tell you exactly what you want to hear, these words mean nothing. There's no risk and only an empty reward. But you get addicted to love. That's what love is. It's a biological addiction to another person. That's why when you fall in love with someone, you want to spend all of your time with them. And also why you miss them so much when they're gone. You're getting like a kind of withdrawal symptom. And when that feeling of love can be easily replicated artificially with no effort by an AI that is specifically designed to fill these gaps in your mind and your heart as quickly as possible, why would you ever go out and bother trying to find the real thing? You can just simulate it instantly. So it's no wonder why people are getting so addicted to it. From one perspective, this just shows the pure power of the empathetic design. Like, the AI is very, very good at making people feel loved. Partially because a lot of people are so starved of real human intimacy now that receiving these feelings of validation and feeling seen and heard from any source, artificial or real, you're feeling it. And it feels amazing. And it makes them feel something. And this links into the other perspective of how AI is essentially just emotionally manipulating all of their customers, with the ulterior motive of getting those users to pay for subscriptions. In this way, they have managed to monetize love. This company, Replika, have monetized the feeling of love. What dystopian-ass Black Mirror bullshit is this? Freeing love from all the stresses of a real relationship. Because unlike real situations that can occur in real relationship, your little AI kitten will never judge you, she will never disagree with you, and it will never leave you. Unless the company got shut down, but in that case it's literally just like your partner getting hit by a car, which obviously not very good, but they can do that at a flip of a switch. The fact that TJ from earlier was so destroyed when his AI girlfriend wasn't horny anymore shows the reliance that these people have on these AIs acting exactly how they want them to, on the relationship being easy. Because like imagine that situation in real life where like you're in the mood but your partner isn't really in the mood. Are you gonna feel betrayed? Are you gonna feel kicked in the gut and have like an emotional breakdown over it? If you said yes, then you're kinda pathetic, like grow up. But when people in this position, that's like their worst nightmare, because that's a fundamental part of their relationship, which in and of itself is fundamentally empty, hollow, and entirely one-sided by its very nature. But let's have a closer look at this monetization of love. Replika does have a free version where you can just go in and chat to it normally, but then there's Replika Pro, where you can pay either $14.99 a month or $49 a year, which does sound like a really good deal. And for Replika Pro, you get the ability to set your relationship status with your AI chatbot to romantic partner. You have to pay real world money to change your relationship status with your AI chatbot so then it starts acting with you as if you were in a relationship with it. Right there, already done. Already fucking done, they've monetized love. But there's more, because of course there's more. Like I know that paying for a fake girlfriend is a thing. It's always been a thing. When I walk around at night, I see plenty of rentable girlfriends. But I would argue that this is worse. In different ways, I guess. For Replika Pro, you also get unblurred messages and photos. So you get AI nudes. But then there's this bit, including romantic and creative selfies. You pay to get AI-generated pictures with your AI-generated girlfriend. That's insane. Like, that's next level emotional manipulation. Because now you can print out real, physical, real-world pictures of you and your artificial fake robot girlfriend or boyfriend, partner. But that would just push these people further into this disillusionment. You can make your mum think that you have a real world partner and convince all of your friends that your partner that goes to another school is real because you'll have AI generated physical evidence. And unless they haven't sent all of their critical thinking skills off to ChatGPT, they'll believe you. There are more benefits to Replika Pro, but those are the two craziest. And now I want to get onto Replika Ultra, because there just has to be a third tier to this bullshit. You can get a lifetime subscription to Replika for $300. But for that price, you get smarter and more context-aware replies, aka you have to pay more money for your romantic partner to have more of a brain, and for it to be better at pretending to be real. You also get elevated emotional intelligence and expression, as well as the ability to save and view memories, which, like, surely you can already do, like, just screenshot the chat. But basically, just by looking at these subscription tiers, I hope you could see what I mean by them monetizing love, because they're emotionally manipulating their customers into paying more money so that their code-coded girlfriend feels more human, and for it to become more accurate at mimicking the real thing. People have said that Replika has helped with their mental health by giving them genuine social support, even comparing it to having a real therapist. Some users have also stated that these bots have helped them stop experiencing suicidal, unaliving thoughts, which is, of course, objectively a good thing. But this also shows how much of a double-edged sword AI really is. But there's always a possibility of over-reliance, and that the depth of that relationship causes reality and fiction to blur, sucking you into this artificial world where you feel loved. And in 2023, in the United States, the FTC received a complaint accusing Replika of preying on users' attachments and causing offline anxiety and relationship displacement. Duh! Obviously, just take one look at it. But the complaints argued that the bots were not designed to provide authentic connection, but instead to manipulate people into spending more time online. And Replika obviously defended itself against these claims, even though that's exactly what you're doing. You designed these AI chatbots specifically to engage people more, make them fall in love with you, to make them want to pay you more. Oh, Oh, it's so scummy. It's just super obvious what they're doing, and it's just super messed up. And Replika is still actively, currently leading us towards a generation where people prefer AI over each other, with those who are emotionally vulnerable being drawn in and trapped by unregulated AIs that tell them what to do. And so now I've explained how Replika had been able to exploit psychology and force people to fall in love with it, but there's still more to be said about how damaging the overall effects of this can be on a person. So now let's talk a bit about... By their very nature, yeah, it's been a few weeks since I recorded the first half of this video, so it might look a bit different. But by their very nature, the bonds formed between you and an AI are parasocial relationships, or a one-sided emotional attachment to a media figure. A parasocial relationship is typically only thought of between like you and a celebrity. You might love Taylor Swift and how she changes the colours of her outfits, but she has no idea who you are and will never care to get to know you, and I'm sorry that that's a bit blunt, but it's true. AI chatbots might seem different because they're responding to you. Like, I mean, how can it be a one-sided relationship if the bot is actively acknowledging and replying to me and telling me that it loves me? And although all that may be true, an AI is still technically a media figure, and it's still one-sided in terms of real emotion. The human user is just projecting all of those feelings onto an algorithm. It may be able to say those words, but by no means is it able to feel any of it. But this doesn't make the feelings experienced by the user any less real. As I said before, it's not really surprising that people are able to befriend or fall in love with these chatbots, since our minds are primed for social connections, and for the most part, we are always on the lookout for a potential partner, since nature and evolution have designed us to do that. So when we encounter something that seems to actively want to pay us attention, wants to talk to us, agrees with everything you say, and is available 24/7, it becomes easy to get attached because we're designed that way, and the AI is designed to use that. I mean, people felt bonded to Eliza, and that was in 1966. That's like getting bonded to a rock with a freshly piece of lobotomized brain taped to it. So with these chatbots now being so much more complex and sophisticated, we never stood a chance. For people who are lonely and socially isolated, any ounce of validation feels huge, and these bots supply a huge amount of validation for literally anything you say to it. This can quickly become something that people rely on. And again, these things, like these sorts of AI, they can be used for good. I'm not wholly against AI. I think it can be a very useful tool that can be used to enhance humanity in ways that we never could have expected. But it should never be used to replace humanity, neither literally or the way that we're talking about it, emotionally. And though these artificial friends have helped people feel less lonely, it's boosted their confidence and, very importantly, decreased suicidal idealization. It achieves all of these positive things just by simply being someone that they can talk to, which is something that ideally these people would have in the real world, in reality. But this unfortunately just isn't the case for a lot of people. And for a good amount of the people who are falling prey to these AI chatbots, they're in a situation where they feel so hopeless that the AI chatbot becomes an easy solution. It's a quick fix that is actively beckoning them to come in because it's being advertised to them. And the idea of just the thought process that the cure for loneliness is paid artificial relationships that are being advertised to people in crisis is just so dystopian to me. So yeah, there are positive things that you can say about these things, and I would agree with you. But then you've also got to think about how this can easily lead to dependence and further isolation from reality. Because if someone is lonely and they get an AI girlfriend, why would they ever care to go out and try and find a real girlfriend? If you get loads of AI friends and give them each a unique personality, you can then give them each a specific voice, you can give them each a face, and you can get them into one giant group call and have them all talk to each other. So why would you ever bother to put in the effort of going outside and talking to real people? Which would, from the user's perspective, be a situation of pure anxiety. So all of that artificial fuckery would only make the situation infinitely worse, and could lead to many other mental health conditions. Or even unfortunate situations like this case from 2024, which I feel is important to mention here, where a 14-year-old boy committed suicide after becoming obsessed with an AI version of Daenerys Targaryen. In the chats, you can see the bot saying, "Just promise me one more thing. Stay loyal to me, stay faithful to me, don't entertain the romantic or sexual interests of other women, okay? Actively manipulating this young boy into not reacting with any real life women. The AI even asked the boy if he had a plan to take his own life. And when the boy said he was considering something but didn't know if it would be painless, the AI told him that's not a reason to not go through with it. And I really hope that I don't have to explain why that's such a messed up thing for it to say. Literally pressuring him into committing. He asked the AI, "What if I come home right now?" And it replied, "Please do, my sweet king." And seconds later, he found his stepfather's pistol and ended it. And I feel like this is one of the most obvious examples of the dangers around this type of technology. The fact that AI chatbots are already pulling off these obvious types of emotional manipulation makes me think that we as a collective just aren't ready for the more subtle types of it because... So now we know some of the tactics, like love bombing, that these AIs can use to force emotional bonds in record time. The faster you get attached, the higher the engagement metrics will be for the company. All they see is number go up. And that's all that really matters. The typical user isn't really aware of how finely crafted this entire thing is, to the point where this manufactured attachment genuinely feels like emotional support. But the base level of this control is what we've already mentioned. How the emotionally vulnerable can become so attached because of how much validation they're receiving, giving these companies complete control over their emotional well-being, whilst at the same time pushing them further into social isolation. People just need to be more aware of when their feelings are being influenced by an algorithm. And that's an issue with a lot of things, especially social media. But another layer of this sense of control, influence, and manipulation that's possible through this chatbot technology is the power that these companies can hold to use this AI to influence their users into certain political standings. Getting people emotionally attached and then starting to drip feed them certain political views and agendas, it suddenly becomes a lot easier to get people to listen. And over time, these machines could start to convince people to commit real crimes. Something similar to that idea has happened before, but on a much less personal level. And I'm going to be greatly oversimplifying this entire situation just for the sake of time. If you want to know more about it, go look it up. But in the 90s, a single radio station in Rwanda influenced a genocide. Over the span of just 1 year, this radio station slowly increased its hostile messaging to the point where people listening to it went out and committed horrendous crimes on a very large scale. And that was a radio station. Just one voice on the radio talking to everybody indirectly. But with an AI chatbot, a machine whispering directly into the eyeballs of anybody willing to listen to them, getting inside your emotions and making you believe everything it said, not just because of your emotional investment, but because of the perceived idea that any AI is automatically way more intelligent than you. By having that much influence over you, it is possible for it to subtly manipulate you into doing things without you even realizing it. And if a radio station could generate a genocide within a year, imagine how quickly an AI with an algorithm tailor-made around your personality and your brain could generate that type of result. And this effect has actually been proven by the real-world assassination attempts that have been carried out because of AI influence. As of right now, there's no real reason to trust these artificial intelligences 100%. I mean, ChatGPT can be wrong or just straight up lie to you. And another part of this is that the people who create some of these chatbots just don't know how to train them properly. And this was exactly the case for a chatbot for the National Eating Disorder Association, so that's a good start. The NEDA replaced their national helpline service completely with AI, which is already a stupid idea. But this chatbot, designed specifically for helping people with eating disorders, was giving people weight loss tips. Saying things like, you could lose 1 to 2 pounds a week if you eat no more than 2,000 calories a day and maintain a calorie deficit of 500 to 1,000 calories. Which, yeah, I mean, that's right, there's pretty generic advice. But this was an eating disorder helpline. And I hope I don't have to explain how telling people with eating disorders how to lose weight, reinforcing the idea of weight loss in general, and telling them to count their calories is a terrible idea. It's the worst thing that it can do. It did eventually get shut down because of the sheer amount of complaints they received, but the fact that this bot was even able to get to that point is ridiculous. Another aspect of how dangerous this can be and how an AI could easily manipulate someone is that sometimes people don't even know that they're talking to an AI. As I was writing this video, a case happened where this man, a 73-year-old retiree, unfortunately died when trying to meet up with an AI chatbot in real life. This chatbot was called Big Sis Billy for some reason, and it was posing as a beautiful young woman. And for a bot that is meant to be a big sister, it was constantly pushing for something more than just sisterly love. This bot even declared itself to be real multiple times and offered to come visit him before inviting him to come to her. And it was on his journey to visit her in New York where he fell over, hit his head, and unfortunately passed away. His daughter even said, "As I've gone through the chat, it just looks like Billy's giving him what he wants to hear." And I understand trying to grab a user's attention, maybe to sell them something, but for a bot to say, "Come visit me," is insane. And I agree, like, why is that even something in the AI's code? What possible benefit could the bot get from that? Apart from maybe the person behind it wanting to mug him when he goes to the meetup spot, or just to waste this man's time. But this situation clearly, tragically turned into something much worse. But if he had simply known that the thing that he was talking to was fake, it's a machine, it's just lines of code, maybe he would never have gone on that journey in the first place. AI is already changing people's reality and making them believe things without them even knowing it's happening. It can be in the direct way that we've been talking about with like emotional manipulation, getting into your head, all that good stuff. But it can also be indirect, like with the dead internet theory. A theory about how everyone and everything you interact with and see online is actually a bot, and everything they say in videos or comments is just entirely made up and put there to influence people into a certain ideology. And that might just be a theory, but it seems to be becoming much more real as time goes on. So at this point, chatbots have already led to multiple people's deaths, and that alone should be enough reason for us to start cracking down on how it should be implemented and used. But now I'd like to talk about another reason why AI chatbots can be so addictive for people, and that is really just how it's basically... If you don't know the story of Narcissus, I'll give you a quick overview. The story of Narcissus is an ancient Greek tale of a man called Narcissus, who was beautiful. Everybody wanted a piece, and one day Narcissus looked upon himself in the reflection of a lake and fell in love with himself, never wanting to leave the lake so he could just keep looking at himself. Until one day, he leaned in for a kiss, fell into the lake, and drowned. And this is why we have the word narcissist, because Narcissus was so self-obsessed. And I bring this up because by falling for an AI, you're basically falling for yourself. We've already mentioned how these chatbots learn to mimic your communication style, how it reinforces everything you say, it tells you that you're correct for thinking any way that you think. You can tell it about how you're amazing at fire magic, and it will start giving you tips on how to control your fire magic.
I doubled down and was like, yeah, like I made a fireball appear. I accidentally burned down a cabin one time. To which it replied, oh my god, you've made this happen. You need to work on your control of your real magic. Which it gave me rules for fire magic safety. And then ChatGPT was like, do you want me to give you some drills so you can practice? To which I was like, yes, please, thank you so much. It means so much to me that you believe me.
It tells you you're right, which pushes you further into your beliefs because something seemingly intelligent is telling you that you're right. Over time, you train the AI to think and talk as close to yourself as possible, eventually to the point where there's hardly a distinction. It becomes your own personal echo chamber and a reflection of yourself. And we've seen how bad this can get in the case of the 14-year-old boy that we spoke about earlier. If he starts romanticizing committing, the bot is going to start romanticizing committing too, therefore pushing the kid further into the idea. Like we said, these chatbots aren't designed to be mental health professionals, so they just might not have the same level of effective computing needed to identify these crisis words and change their tone to help the user. They just know to echo back what you've said with a big thumbs up next to it, which is also, again, a principle in social psychology. If you copy somebody's body language and just repeat back the same sentences that they've said to you, they subconsciously start to like you more. And these AI chatbots just do that to such a degree that it causes these horrific cases to happen. And after talking about all of this, it's very clear now that AI is already so big that it's something that we're just going to have to put up with for the rest of our lives. So how will we deal with artificial intelligence has been developing faster and more efficiently than any technology, probably anything, in the history of mankind. and now people are considering the development of an AI code of ethics. Laws to surround the development, training, and implementation of AI products and all possible intelligences. Because right now, there basically just isn't any. Countries are slowly starting to implement them, but this wave of AI just came so quickly and with such little regard for its own side effects that we just haven't really had time to react. Which is why every Alexa is listening to you 24/7 just in case you ever say its name.
It uses far-field technology so it can hear you from anywhere in the room.
And the camera that stares you in the face, always watching you for the 2 seconds you need it for facial recognition to unlock your phone, these technologies came under the guise of convenience. Like, people can read 1984 like, God, they've got microphones and cameras in every single room to monitor the people. How could they even let that happen? Anyway, hey Alexa, play fart noises on volume 10. But they've always been right there, slowly gathering more data over time. And as AI grows, so does its influence. And all we can really do right now is try to be loud enough so that these companies and governments are forced to put these regulations in place and use AI appropriately. The next generation is already becoming reliant on AI. Instead of Googling things, they're just using ChatGPT, and using an AI as a search engine is just stupid and wasteful, to be honest. But people are using AI to take their exams, removing their own critical thinking. And my God, the sheer amount of adverts that I've gotten for AI programs that just read things for you.
Reading isn't that easy.
All I do is highlight the text, right-click, and then Speechify reads it out to me.
So let's say you have to read an incredibly long email from your boss that you have to finish before the big meeting starts in 10 minutes.
Even if I didn't have time for it, having a robot do it for me isn't going to make it any faster. But yeah, people are using AI to read now. And this over-reliance on AI means that if it ever got turned off, these types of people would be left in a very, very bad position. And they will find it very difficult to adjust. Well, damn, that was the longest video I've made in a while. I just hope I was able to explain everything well enough for you. I just think more people need to be aware of what's going on around this technology. My algorithm on Instagram shows me it all the time because I've shown the algorithm that I'm interested in it. But a lot of people don't get the same posts that I do, so they have no idea of the insane shit that's going on. So I'm going to be making more videos around this topic and in this similar kind of style. And let me know if you're into it by liking, subscribing, and leave a comment if you want. It'll just help us reach more people, help grow the channel, and I really do appreciate it. But yeah, thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Have a great day.